Morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I wonder, do you have a favourite Bible character? Maybe it's good old faithful Abraham, or David the psalmist, or Esther the brave, the girl who was put in a position for such a time as that. And I'm guessing you're thinking, now, who's she going to choose? Well, mine is Caleb. You heard of him? Well, in the story today, I'm going to read from the Bible. We're going to look at Caleb, who's 40 years old, and he's an established leader in his tribe. I'm going to read some extracts from Numbers 13 and 14 with a few comments as we go along. And I'm going to use the Message version because I think it brings the story to life, certainly for me. It's a little bit on the long side, but bear with me. I hope you'll enjoy the story, and then we'll have a few thoughts about it afterwards. The scouting out Canaan. God spoke to Moses, "Send men to scout out the country of Canaan that I'm giving to the people of Israel. Send one man from each ancestral tribe, each one a tried and true leader in the tribe." So Moses sent them off from the wilderness of Paran at the command of God. All of them were leaders in Israel, one from each tribe. And then there follows a long list, including from Judah, Caleb, son of Jephunneh. When Moses sent them off to scout out Canaan, he said, "Go up through the Negev and then into the hill country. Look the land over, see what it's like. Assess the people. Observe the land. Describe the towns. Are there forests? Bring back a sample of the produce that grows there." And with that, they were on their way. And one commentary states that they would have travelled hundreds of miles there and back. And they scouted out the land. When they arrived at the Eshcol Valley, they cut off a branch with a single cluster of grapes, and it took 2 men to carry it, slung on a pole. They also picked pomegranates and figs, and they named the place Eshcol Valley, which means Grape Cluster Valley, because of the huge cluster of grapes they'd had to cut down there. After 40 days of scouting out the land, they returned home, and they presented themselves before Moses and Aaron. They reported to the whole congregation and showed them the fruit of the land, and then they told their story of the trip. "We went to the land to which you sent us. And oh, it does flow with milk and honey. Just look at this fruit. Only thing is that the people are fierce. Their cities are huge and well fortified, and worse yet, we saw descendants of the giant Anak. Amalekites were spread out in the Negev. Hittites, Jebusites, and Amorites hold the hill country, and the Canaanites are established on the Mediterranean Sea and along the Jordan." Caleb interrupted, called for silence before Moses and said, "Let's go up and take the land. Now, we could do it." But the others said, "We can't attack those people. They're way stronger than we are." And they spread scary rumors among the people of Israel. They said, "We scouted out the land from one end to the other, and it's a land that swallows people whole, and everything was huge. Why, we even saw the Nephilim giants, and alongside them we felt like grasshoppers, and they looked down on us as if we were grasshoppers." The bad report of the others in the reconnaissance mission was contagious. The whole community was in uproar, wailing all night long. All the people of Israel grumbled against Moses and Aaron, ending up with a familiar theme: "Why don't we just head back to Egypt, and right now?" Soon they were all saying it to one another: "Let's pick a new leader. Let's head back to Egypt." Moses and Aaron fell on their faces in front of the entire community gathered in emergency session. Joseph, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, members of the scouting party, ripped their clothes and addressed the assembled people of Israel. "The land we walked through and scouted out is a very good land, very good indeed. If God is pleased with us, he will lead us into that land, a land that flows, as they say, with milk and honey, and he'll give it to us. Just don't rebel against God. Don't be afraid of those people. Why, we'll have them for lunch. They have no protection, and God is on our side. Don't be afraid of them. But up in arms now, the entire community was talking of hurling stones at them. Just then, the bright glory of God appeared. God said to Moses, "How long will these people treat me like dirt? How long refuse to trust me? And with all these signs I've done amongst them, I've had enough. And I'm going to hit them with a plague and kill them. But I'll make you a nation bigger and stronger than ever they were." But Moses said to God, "If you kill this entire people in one stroke, all the nations that have heard what's been going on will say, 'Since God couldn't get these people into the land which he'd promised to give them, he slaughtered them out in the wilderness.' Now, please let the power of the Master expand, enlarge itself greatly along the lines you've laid out earlier when you said, 'God, slow to anger, huge in loyal love, forgiving iniquity and rebellion and sin, still never just whitewashing sin, but extending the fallout of parents' sins to children into the third, even the fourth generation.'" And the story continues that Moses pleaded and God forgave. But no one who saw God's glory and the miracles he did set eyes on the land that God solemnly promised to their ancestors. No one who's treated me, says God, with such repeated contempt will see it. But my servant Caleb, this is a different story. He has a different spirit. He follows me passionately. I'll bring him into the land that he scouted, and his children will inherit it. Not one of you will enter the land and make your home there, the firmly and solemnly promised land, except for Caleb, son of Jephunneh, and Joshua, son of Nun. And the story continues of action without God's blessing, and the consequences, and of what happens to Caleb over the years. And later on, we read how he looks back at his life at the age of 85. So those are the long readings, and back to a few thoughts of meditation. So the meaning of Caleb in the ancient Hebrew is wholehearted or single-minded. During my teens, I was part of a Bible class that met on a Sunday afternoon of nearly 140 young people ranging from 14 up to early 20s. And it was called King's Own. And it was a hugely significant time in my life and really still influences me today, though I didn't become a Christian until I was 17, but that's another story. The leaders of King's Own at that time set up a group called the Caleb Group for those young Christians who wanted to take their discipleship further in their Christian journey. We already had discipleship classes for young Christians. You had to give your testimony as to why you wanted to join the Caleb Group. And we were expected to be willing to share our testimony, lead times of prayer, readings, sharing choruses, good old schism choruses. The emphasis was on being wholehearted. That experience has stood me in good stead from being a shy, quiet thing to, well, I leave you to comment on that. But certainly God has led me into leadership and other roles. And I was challenged as a young Christian to start a Christian union at my place of work. And I first became a deacon in 1985. From that King's Own group, many went on to theological training and mission work. And I'm still in touch with a group of friends from that time, most of whom are serving the Lord in their local churches. The leader of that Bible class, or one of the leaders, will be celebrating her 100th birthday this week. She and her husband was such a huge influence for God on young lives. Anyway, back to Caleb. The challenge in our lives is to recognize that with God's help, we can tackle what seems like an insurmountable problem. It's a bit like having a glass half empty, the pessimistic outlook, or a glass half full, the optimistic view. And Caleb certainly had that optimistic attitude. And I guess the challenge is, are we wholeheartedly following Jesus day after day, year after year, decade after decade? Are we, like Caleb, a possibility thinker? There were the many challenges facing us as individuals and as a church. Let's keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. And I was reminded of this verse from a 200-year-old hymn. True-hearted, wholehearted, faithful and loyal, King of our lives, by thy grace we will be. Under the standard, exalted and royal, strong in thy strength, we will battle for thee. And I'm going to close now with a prayer for a heart after God, which uses verses from the Psalms. So do join with me. Dear Lord, help me to cultivate the simplicity of devotion to you. I want you to be my primary ambition in life. I desire to behold your beauty and dwell in your house all the days of my life. Let seeking your heart be the goal of my life, even in busy and stressful times. Help me to be one who seeks after your beauty. Help me to discover your emotions and the purposes of your heart. I want to be a lover of God and thirst after you daily. Keep me as the apple of your eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings. Teach me how to align my heart with yours. I recommit myself as a child after your heart, and I choose to seek your face. In difficult times, open my heart to receive your revelation. Hide me in the shelter of your tabernacle. Reveal deeply to my heart your love for me. Rescue me in the midst of difficult circumstances and bring me into a spacious place. Amen. So thank you again. I hope you've enjoyed learning or relearning a little bit more about Caleb. Bless you for joining me. Have a good day.